Good morning, St. Francis, and good morning, people of God. Today is Friday, the 3rd day of May, 2024, Friday of the 5th week of Easter. It is the 34th day of the Easter season. One more day than the day today. Yeah, okay, yes, it always should be. Okay, so it's the 34th day of the Easter season. It's going to be sweltering again today here in Carolina, so it's awful, but that's okay. We'll try to get through it. Hopefully there won't be any rain coming in, but we'll see what happens. We had our May crowning at the Franciscan school just a few minutes ago, but then the grounds people came in, so it was going to be impossible to do any kind of reflection. so I'll try and find another picture of it later on, as you can see, where we placed flowers around the statue of Mary that is always at the entrance to the Franciscan school. We moved it into the courtyard where we have morning prayer for the service today. Today is also the feast of the apostles Philip and James. So this is James the Lesser, which I could be. James the Greater is in July. So there's always two Jameses in the list of the apostles. So this is Philip and James. Just like Simon and Jude, these two get lumped together. There's no specific reason why they get lumped together. Some traditions hold that they were ministers of the gospel, together in some places, but again, it's more tradition than anything else. And so because not much is known of them, although really more is known of Philip than there is of James the Lesser. And so the thing is why shouldn't Philip get his own day? But then again, that's how things work. But because it is the feast, we break from the general Easter readings and we go to the readings for the feast day. So the first is that is from 1 Corinthians this time around, in which Paul basically writes to the Corinthians and hands on to them the pattern of appearances after Jesus' resurrection, or the course of Jesus' life at the end of his life, that he suffered, that he died, Pontius Pilate, that he rose, and then that he appeared, and appeared to all kinds of people, that he appears to James. Now, again, who is this James? Is it James the Greater? Again, he is known as James the Greater. Should it be him, or is it James the Lesser? Again, whatever James it was, seems to have been a leader of the Christian community in Jerusalem at one time. He is martyred because of his leadership of the community. So it wasn't necessarily Peter. Did he take over after Peter? Was Peter too busy preaching that he wasn't actually the leader of the Christian community? Which again, kind of throws into disarray the whole idea of first pope and everything else like that. Or what does it mean to be the head of the church? That Jesus proclaims him to be in Matthew's gospel. So James seems to have been a leader of some sort. And he is one of the specific names listed in Paul's list of the appearances after the resurrection. Again, Paul just does that, again, to show that this is something that is real, that has been passed on. And he's just not making this up, but this is what he was told, it happened after Jesus' resurrection. Again, the Gospels don't necessarily recount it in the same way. But again, there's a whole bunch of traditions that kind of move in and out of the Gospels, and so this part of the first letter to the Corinthians kind of opens up for us that understanding. In the Gospel, so we get the mention of Philip in the first reading. In the Gospel, we get the mention of Philip, and so it is from Matthew's Gospel. It is from Matthew's Gospel, and people are. No, it might be from John's Gospel. I forget which it is, but okay. But the thing of it is that Thomas asks, show us the Father and we'll believe. And then, Jesus says to Thomas, you've seen the Father if you've seen me, and you still don't believe, and then Philip goes and says, are you going to open up the way to for Israel to retrieve its position, retrieve its power, its influence? And basically, Jesus says that's not necessarily why I came, and that's not what this is about. Again, Jesus comes to open up hearts. And to open up minds to what it truly means to be human, what it truly means to understand ourselves, and basically, he goes back to the sense that if you ask anything of me, I will give it to you. If you ask anything of the Father, because you ask it in my name, I will give it to you. Again, a God who wants to address our needs, a God who wants to respond to our needs, a God who does not want to, again, ignore us or be indifferent to us or not care about us. This is the whole point, of of the gospel. The whole point of why Jesus comes is so that we might be able to understand more fully this world in which we live and who we are, as people of God, who we are as these creations of God, these images and likenesses of God in this world. To be able, to do that, we need help at times. To be able to do that, we need to understand, ourselves and the world around us. And that help and that understanding always comes from being able to call upon God for what it is that we need. Not frivolous needs, not ridiculous needs, not superficial needs, not needs that can be met in any other kind of way, but the true needs, for happiness, the true needs for hope, the true needs for well-being, for dignity, for respect. Those kinds of needs you call upon God for, and trusting in Christ to deliver them, God will deliver them. We have to be confident of that. Many times we don't even bother trying because we don't think it's possible, or we think it's hopeless, or we think that God is too busy. That is not the case. This gospel shows us that. And perhaps, believing a little bit more in the power of God to help us, the power of God to transform our lives, allows us to be able to live lives that are transformed, that are better suited to be witnesses and bearers of the gospel message of hope and peace. A continued blessed Easter season, St. Francis and people of God. May the Lord give you his peace.